What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Death by Video. My name's Jared. I'm your host as always. Back here with another honest reaction. So today we're going to be looking at a band that's kind of come back from the dead or risen. And you know, the song's actually called Rise, so it kind of makes a little bit of sense. So the band is Extreme, and I'm sure a lot of younger viewers may have never heard of Extreme before. I barely remember them from when I was like a pretty young kid. I think they kind of came up like in the late 80s and early 90s, kind of when the hair metal was dying out, and they were kind of on the back end of that, from as far as I can remember anyway. I know they're a very highly respected band. I know quite a bit about their guitar player, Nuno Betancourt. I don't know a ton of his music, but I have heard some of it, and he is a phenomenal guitar player. Of course, the song everybody probably remembers is More Than Words, which is really one of the better rock love ballads ever written. The guitar work in it is great. It's just a very nicely composed song. And that's the song I remember. I do remember hearing some of their music back when I was pretty young. I was probably like 10 or 11 years old when I heard this stuff. And I remember it being like, I don't know if it was like metal, but it was definitely hard rock. And with them being kind of a more instrumentally appreciated band, I feel like they're kind of more along the lines of like Queensryche. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's just kind of what comes to mind when I think of the band Extreme. Not as heavy as the metal bands. A little bit more into the composition, and maybe being a little bit more progressive. Maybe, I don't know. I could be way off here, but that's just kind of what I always, whenever I hear Extreme, it just, Queensryche is the band that comes to mind, because they were kind of on the tail end of the 80s, thrash metal and hair metal. Then grunge came and kind of killed that era of music, and I think Extreme was probably a bit of a victim of the grunge revolution back in the early 90s too. But this is the first thing I know that they've come out with since the 90s. Like, I'm sure they still kept going into the 90s, and when I was in high school, I just never really listened to them. But yeah, apparently they're back. I don't know how long they've been gone for. Could be up to 25 years, who knows? But I know Nuno Betancourt has not stopped. He's got a lot of solo stuff, and he collaborates with a lot of different artists, and his guitar playing is pretty phenomenal. I'd say he is definitely one of the better guitar players in the world. Now, these guys are going to be a fair bit older now. They've got to be well into their 50s, probably approaching 60. So we'll see if they can kind of still bring it, even though I'm not really super familiar with their older music. I do remember them kind of bringing it, though, at least instrumentally. So without further ado, let's get into Rise from Extreme. What is this, dedicated to Harambe? Okay, sounds okay.
Look around you. A little town off the found we would find you. If you stay in decay, you'll define you.
Is anybody else getting like big time Stone Temple Pilots vibes off of this? Like even the jacket that the singer's wearing, it just seems like something Scott Weiland would be wearing, you know? And the music kind of sounds similar too. It's not bad so far. It's not really anything too special. I did like how he did a nice pinch harmonic there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with pinch harmonics on the guitar. It's kind of when they kind of pinch their thumb with the pick a little bit against the string, and it creates that harmonic where they kind of goes wow, 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 like that.
Come and join us. Take a little walk in the middle of the madness. Get your mind and your eye and your reason and roll.
Oh yeah, I like the
Feel it, can you taste it? Take a bite of your life, don't you waste it. Ride the lightning, roll the thunder. You're the chosen one.
It definitely is on the verge of being metal, like the guitar work anyway. Like it got kind of chuggy there. I'm thinking that's the lead into the verse here, or into the chorus, and yeah, it was pretty good. He's definitely adding a few little bits of flair on the end of each phrase here. So let's see how it goes.
Lift you up.
I didn't mind the sound of the chorus here. The lyrics just kind of seemed a little bit, I don't know, basic and like cliche a little bit. And does anybody else get kind of a bit of a Buck Cherry vibe to him also? A little bit, hey? All right, let's check it out.
Take a bow to the new king. Ever cool is a fool, never lasting. Wanted dead or alive, every king must die. Tick tock, you're a time bomb. Word is gonna watch while you have your final meltdown. What you want, what you want, what you want no more. They can feel it, they can taste it. Eat you up, spit you out, defecated. Oh, I wonder, trampled under. You're the chosen one. Gonna lift you up, straight to the top. I'm gonna raise you up, then rip you apart. I'm gonna lift you up, watch you rise, watch you fall. Gonna raise you
Okay, so the first half of the song there, it's kind of pretty simple. It's got the intro, verse, chorus, then back to verse, chorus. Now we got a little bit of a bridge going on here. Looks like it might lead into a solo here. I'm sure at some point it's going to lead into a solo because Nuno is going to probably knock our socks off. I'm hoping anyway. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. It's pretty nasty. Oh my god. What the fuck? How does he do that? Wow, that's awesome. Oh. Wow. You don't know how much I needed to hear that. I haven't heard a good solo in a while, and that a good original solo anyway, one that I haven't heard 1,000 times. And I never thought in 2023 I was going to be getting that from the band Extreme, but I am pleasantly surprised with this. I didn't think it was going to be this good. The song itself is good too, but that solo was fucking epic. And like I said, Nuno Betancourt, I've listened to a lot of his stuff too, and you hear stuff like that all the time. But it still never ceases to amaze. And usually I'm just listening to it. I don't see him doing it, and it's like, how does he go that fast? And this dude's like in his mid-50s, you know. He was in the band originally too. He's not like some replacement. He's just as old as all the other guys. And usually bands when they're getting towards this age, when they're coming out with new material, it's very underwhelming. But this is definitely not that. But let's see how they end this song here. See if we can end on a high note here too.
I'm gonna
Oh
lift
man, I love it.
straight to the top. I'm gonna raise you up, then rip you apart. I'm gonna lift you up,
The guitar's
you
on the
rise,
chorus
watch you
now.
fall. Gonna raise you up, rise. Gonna lift you up, straight to the top. Gonna lift you up.
Well, fair bit to unpack here. That was way better than I thought it was going to be. Like I said, I remember Extreme from back in the day, and I knew that they were a highly respected band, and I remember More Than Words, and I vaguely remember what type of music they were, but for them to be gone for a while, I'm not sure how long they were gone for, like I said, but to come back and really bring it, like that song actually rocked pretty good for being like a straight up hard rock song like that. I can't call it metal just because it didn't have that fierceness in the drums and the vocals and stuff, but Nuno Betancourt's guitars were definitely metal. And it sounded really good. The chorus, actually, I wasn't sure what to think of it at first. And I don't mind those background vocals. It's kind of like a Bon Jovi thing almost, you know? But it actually kind of grew on me by the end. And by the end, I was listening to the guitars more on the chorus. And it was a little bit more, there was a little more to it than just that first face value. If you listen deep, he's actually riffing a little bit there, and it was subtle, but it really actually did add a little bit of a darker element to that chorus. Because it was kind of like, it was an uplifting chorus. It's called Rise, you know, rise up to the top, they're saying. But yeah, it just kind of added a little bit more intrigue to that chorus, and I really liked it. The vocals were okay. I'm thinking that back in the 80s and 90s, I'm sure he probably could have hit higher notes, but you know, as you get older, you can't hit those notes quite as good as you used to. Especially, I don't know if they were one of the party bands of the 80s, if they were drinkers and smokers, but either way, I'm really impressed with Extreme. Welcome back, and I hope that they have more of this type of stuff to bring to us. Like it's not usually really my type of music, but just that solo, I'd be willing to re-listen to this song a few times just to hear that solo again. And okay, and on to the solo. I know I keep referring back to it, but I haven't really talked in depth with it. So it starts off, you know, it was kind of just playing up the neck, and it was somewhat intricate. He had those really deep bends. And it was kind of building up, I think, a little bit to the final part of the solo. And the final part of the solo, the sound of the guitar was different. There wasn't really any distortion or much distortion to it. It almost had a real compressed, like subdued sound to it, but it was clear. I don't know how they achieved that, or if it's through pedals or just through engineering and production, but it sounded really cool. Even if it wasn't super flashy, it was just a little bit different, and it allowed you to really see every note that he was playing. Because if that would have been too distorted, it would have got muddied up a little bit, I think. My hat is off to you, Extreme. You really brought it when I didn't think you would. Usually bands that are gone that long, and usually bands that are that old, stop giving a shit. Like, has anybody heard any new Metallica in the last, 15, 20 years? It's like they're not even trying anymore. They know their record's gonna sell. They're gonna make millions of dollars off it just because of what they did in the 80s, you know? And their songwriting has really gone down to shit. But then you get a band like this that's been around maybe not quite as long as Metallica, but that really still could probably rock a house and might actually get new fans. Young kids could hear this and really like it, you know? It could be something like that. Now, this one was a request from one of our subscribers. I was told that I would possibly be pleasantly surprised by this. Ooh, say that 5 times fast, hey? and I definitely was, so thank you very much for the suggestion. And on that note, if you guys want to go throw something in the comments, let me know if there's some other songs you want me to review, and while you're down there, you might as well like and subscribe. We're building a little community here. We are over 50 subscribers. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but we're only about 9 days old right now, so we're slowly building our way up and snowballing into being one of the juggernauts. But thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm gonna have a couple more videos, hopefully coming out at the end of this week. Maybe one of them might have to wait till early next week, depending on my schedule. But thank you guys for all the support, and I will check you later, Death Heads.